Hello everyone. Welcome to another Worm Farm Q&A live on White David Gardening and Worm Farm. We have so many exciting things to talk about when it comes to farming worms, the benefits of it, and so much that there is that we can learn. So if you have questions, feel free to ask, and I'll be sharing a lot of points with you that I have jotted down here. And for all of you that are going to be participating in this live, thank you for being here. Okay, I'm just gonna silence my device. I always seem to do that while the show is starting. I know I am a bit crazy. Okay, so I apologize for the last live that was done in December. We didn't have any for Christmas Day because I usually do the worm farming live on Fridays, and that was Christmas Day. Hi, Sian. How are things with you? And I didn't do any for New Year's Day because that was Friday as well. And the last worm farm Q&A that we did, we had a bit of technical difficulties, so the live ended prematurely. So we're going to continue from where we left off. And this is the first Q&A live that we are having since the start of 2021. Yay! Oh, yes. Okay, so I am trying something new. I've changed my location from where I usually do my live because it's a bit dark there and I have some lights going to make it clearer. So if this is clearer than my previous lives, for those of you who have been on my live before, please let me know if it's clear enough. Oh, hi, Han White. It's nice of you to join me. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get down into the live. So let's see, what's my first question going to be? This is a very important question because it determines how much castings we need. Yes, I just finished work. Okay. Always busy. All right, so the first question that I'm going to ask today is how can castings be used? Hi, Russell. Okay, so how can you use your castings? It can be used for many different purposes. Yes, yes, and yes. Okay, thank you, Ann White. So, one, you can use it to amend your soil. You can use it for topping up your garden. You can use it for mulch. You can use it as potting soil. And you can use it to make compost tea. So those are the applications for your castings. And I have some pretty interesting information to share with you about castings as well, further down in the discussion. Okay, so how long can you store your castings for? Castings can be stored for up to 3 years. But can you freeze it? If you freeze your castings, then the microbes in it will die. So it is advised that you do not allow your castings to freeze. And so if you are someone who purchases castings, then you need to ensure that you buy just enough that you're going to use for that growing season, or you have somewhere to store the excess that is warm enough that your castings won't freeze. So don't get more than you need. And as we go through the discussion, this might help you to figure out how much castings you need if you're going to be purchasing castings for your garden. Wow, I didn't know that. Yes. Okay, so what do you mean by where's your sister? She should be upstairs in school. She's not in school? Okay, it's lunchtime. I guess that's why you can't find her. She's probably gone to play or get some lunch. So go and look for her. I'm doing my live now, okay, baby? See you later. Sorry about that. My son wants to know where his sister is. Okay, yes. So, what effect does beneficial microbes have on your plant? Oh, hi, Mom. I'm glad that you're able to join us. Yes, so was that supposed to be hi, my precious, or hi, my previous? Okay, message retracted. Okay, right. So, what effect does casting have on seeds? Oh, I think I jumped the question I was asking. What effect does beneficial microbes have on your plants? That's a question we were about to discuss. So, yes, and a lot of smileys. Okay, yes. So, some of the benefits that microbes have on your plants is that one, it helps your plants to grow. Two, it helps to fight off plant disease, and it also helps to nourish your plants. So those are some of the benefits that good microbes have on your plants. And that is why it is important not to freeze it. Yes, and that is the next point I'm going to be discussing on why it uses it help with germination. So the next question is, what effect does casting have on seeds? And as Ann White rightly says, it helps with germination. So it improves the rate of your germination. And the reason that it is able to help with germination, one of the reasons, is because of its moisture retaining property and because of the nutrients that it supplies to the seedlings. So because it is able to retain the moisture for longer, it helps to prevent your seeds from drying out, because once your seeds dry off any at all, then that seed won't be able to germinate once it had started the germination process, and then you allow it to dry out. So that's one of the benefits of castings in your seed tray. And it also help your seedlings to grow faster because it supply all the nutrients that your plant or your seed needs. Okay, so next question. If I feed my worms inorganic food scraps, will my castings be affected? Let's see what Unwide says. Oh, okay. Thanks for sharing. You're welcome, my dear. That is the purpose of the live, to share information so that we can help each other to learn about growing and growing effectively. Okay, so the next question is, let's see, repeat. Are you asking me to repeat the question? The question is, if I feed my worms inorganic, okay, the last question is, if I feed my worms inorganic food, will my castings be affected? No, your castings won't be affected if you feed your worms inorganic food scraps. And the reason is that worms can break down heavy metals and some other toxins in the food scraps or in the soil. Yeah, so it doesn't affect it if the food is inorganic. That is why the worms are so, what is the right term for them? Versatile, because they don't just give you castings or nutrients for your plants, but the fact that they are able to break down some of the harmful substances that can be found in your soil, then it makes it so beneficial. And this is one of the reasons why I prefer worm castings over other types of organic fertilizer, because none of the other organic fertilizers, they can have trace minerals and metals and toxin, not mineral, but metals and toxin in them. But when the worm process it, these things are broken down. So this is one of the very big advantages of using worm castings as opposed to other form of organic fertilizers. Let's see. And White says, I didn't know that. Nice to know. Yes. Okay, so I was able to give a shout out, or at least to welcome those who I can see their names appear here. But there are others who are on the live that I cannot see. So welcome to all of you, and I hope that you will be able to benefit from the program. And so we're going to be moving on to my next question. Okay, so how does microbial activity in castings compare to what is in the soil? Well, it is the microbial activity in your castings is 10 to 20 times more, even higher than the organic material that they eat. So let me say that again. The microbial activity in worm casting as compared to microbial activity in your soil is 10 to 20 times higher, even higher than the organic material that the worms eat. So that is another reason why you have to ensure that you don't freeze your castings, because you want those microbes. The more microbes you have, the better it is for your plant. What was that? Are you clear on that question, Ann White, or do you still need me to explain? I'll just wait for your answer before I move on. Okay, you got it. Okay, good. Right. So 10 to 20 times more microbial activity in castings than in your soil. Okay, so what nutrients are found in worm castings? Oh, this one I like. Most times when you go out to the stores and you buy organic fertilizers, you see NPK, and they tell you um, 10 20 20 or 20 20 20, stuff like that, or 5 10 10. Yes, and White, it is amazing. Hi, Mr. Bot. The likes are glitching. Okay. Okay, so yes, what nutrients are found in your worm castings? Worm castings contains magnesium, it contains potassium, nitrates, phosphorus, calcium, nitrogen, copper, manganese, carbon, cobalt, iron, zinc, and borax. You see, so let's do that again. So that's magnesium, potassium, nitrates, phosphorus, calcium, nitrogen, copper, manganese, carbon, cobalt, iron, zinc, and borax. So that is a lot of nutrients that can be found in worm castings. That must be one of the reasons why worm casting has such an advantage over most other forms of fertilizer. Okay, so what can you use? Sorry, yeah, what can you use castings for? What do you use castings for? So, castings can be used for potting soil. It makes very good potting soil. It can be used to amend your soil. It can be used as a natural fertilizer. In Canada, it is not recognized as a fertilizer, but as a supplement. But even though it is not recognized as a fertilizer in Canada, it can be used as a fertilizer, and you don't need any other form of nutrients with it or any other form of fertilizer with it. It enhances germination, as I mentioned before. If it is good for trees, you can use it for your shrubs, your flowers, your vegetables, or your lawn. Amazing. I didn't know that. I use castings to make potting soil and as a fertilizer. Okay. Yes. And as when starting seedlings, there are those who use just worm casting as their potting soil. Sometimes there might be trace minerals that are not found in castings that can be found in the soil. So if you are going to make potting soil, then it might be a good idea to have a bit of soil as long as it is loose and well drained. But the castings can be used as is for your seed starting. And the good thing is that the nutrients is just there readily available for the plant to use as soon as it germinates. Okay, so how does nutrients in potting soil compare to castings? Potting soil nutrients can last between 2 to 5 days average. The nutrients, however, that is found in worm castings can last up to 30 days. So you see the big difference between potting soil nutrients and castings. The potting soil, the nutrients in potting soil can last 2 to 5 days average, whereas castings can last up to 30 days. So that's quite impressive. Now, how do you make liquid fertilizer from castings? If you're not aerating the mixture, then you use 1 cup of castings to a gallon of water and allow it to sit for a day or up to a week and stir it occasionally. If you're going to aerate the mixture, then you can use a cup of castings to 2 gallons of water and aerate it for 1 or more days. Now, by aerating your castings, your worm tea, you increase the microbial action rather than just mixing in the casting in your water and letting it sit. That will create microbes, but it won't create as much microbes as if you aerate it. Now you can use a pump to aerate your worm tea, or you can use, if you don't have a pump, you can just go occasionally and give it a stir, and that will help to increase your microbial action, which is better than simply just mixing it initially and just letting it sit. Now, I mentioned that you can steep the castings for up to a week. You should note, however, that worm tea, as long as it's not being aerated on a continuous basis, have a shelf life of only 3 days. So you want to make sure that you use it after you made a product within 3 days. So don't make it until you are ready to use it, and don't make more than you need unless you're going to finish it within 3 days. So what if you make potting soil from castings and compost? Would that last for 30 days? Nutrients? Okay. Yes, it would last for 30 days. Mixing in the casting does not, mixing in the compost does not affect how long the nutrients from the castings actually last. It will just, adding in compost will just be giving you extra nutrients. And the good thing about the nutrients from worm casting is that, unlike with a lot of organic fertilizers, it does not release all of its nutrients all at once. It slowly releases the nutrients. And we're going to be discussing this further on in this discussion. Let's see. Okay, thanks, because I made some at the weekend. Oh, okay. You're welcome. Now, how do you use worm castings for germination? You can use 20 to 30% castings with sand or other loose soil. And this will provide all the plant needs for up to 3 months. So again, let's repeat that. To how you use castings for germination: mix 20 to 30% castings with sand or other loose soil, and that will provide the nutrients that your plants need for up to 3 months. Now, how can you use casting as a soil amendment? To use casting as a soil amendment, you need to mix a generous amount of castings into the soil and moisten it. You cannot have too much castings in your soil if you're using it as a soil amendment, because the more castings you have in the soil, then the more space you're creating between the bonds of the soil to keep it loose. And you want to make sure that you moisten it so that it can gradually start breaking down and amending your soil. And you want to mix it in properly and try to mix it into your soil as evenly as possible. Okay. Now, how can castings be used as a fertilizer? It can be sprinkled around your plants. You can mix it into your soil before you plant. Or if you run out of time to mix it into the soil and you want to be planting right away, then you can place the castings into each hole as you are about to plant in it. Now, how much castings should I give my plants? While it is true that you cannot give your plants too much castings, in other words, no matter how much castings you give your plants, it's never too much because it cannot cause any harm to your plant. Of course, you might be wasting the casting if you're not using it as a soil amendment if you use too much castings. But 1 tablespoon of casting is enough to feed a 6-inch potted plant for up to 2 months. So that's only 1 tablespoon of castings for a 6-inch plant. It can feed a 6-inch potted plant for up to 2 months. Now, this amount increases depending on the size of the plant that you have. So that is a basic rule of the thumb. If it is a 6-inch plant, then 1 tablespoon will do. Let's see. That's good to know. Okay, right. So the way I usually use my casting, if my plants are big, like the tomatoes and peppers, stuff like that, I just use like one handful of castings per plant, and that will last the plant for 2 months in nutrients. Of course, some plants feed more than others. Some plants are heavy feeders. So if you see where your plant look as if it needs top up, go ahead by all means and give it a top up. Know the plants that are heavy feeders and feed them accordingly. So the same rule does not necessarily apply to the plants of the same size. It also depends on whether or not they are heavy feeders, yes or no. Okay, how much moisture can castings hold? Castings can hold up to 2 or 3 times its weight. So if you have a pound of castings, your castings can hold 2 to 3 pounds of water. Isn't that impressive? That is one of the reasons why it is so good on your plants if you're using it to retain moisture. And that is so good reason why you should use it to amend your soil. And it's good to amend your soil as often as possible so you can keep the soil nice and loose, especially when you're planting such vegetables, root vegetables. You want to have your soil being nice and loose, and so castings, because of its moisture retaining property, is pretty good to use to amend the soil. Okay, so last questions, and then we can chit chat after that if you so desire. How does casting slowly releases its nutrients? Hmm? Because that's how I help people to learn about worms. Okay, bye. My son wants to know what I am doing. Yes, so how does casting slowly releases its nutrients? Because I mentioned before that castings, unlike most fertilizer, does not release all of its nutrients all at once, but it does so slowly, which is why the nutrients is able to last for up to 2 months after you applied the castings. So as the food moved through the worm's alimentary canal, a thin layer of oil encapsulate the castings, and this layer of oil gradually breaks down over a 2 month period. And as it breaks down, it slowly releases the nutrients. So it is that oil that encapsulate the castings while the worms are digesting the food scraps that actually allow your castings to gradually release its nutrients. Okay, so we have covered the questions that I want to discuss with you today. And so if you have any questions, feel free to ask and we can chit chat for a bit. Okay, so how many of you are excited to have your garden started this year? Are you looking forward to gardening? And how many of you on the live today actually have a worm farm? Or are you thinking of starting a worm farm? Very informative. Oh, thank you, Ann White. Yes, I try to learn as much as I can about worms because, well, I enjoy learning about them, and I enjoy raising them, and I enjoy the benefits that I get from raising them. And I like to share what I learn with others because you cannot know too much about things that you're involved with. The more you know, the better you're going to be able to deal with circumstances as they arise. Yes, it's just good overall to know about the things that you deal with in life. Yes. So this year, I think this is one of my busiest years when it comes to gardening. I've got so much planned, so much that I am working on at the moment. Let's see what Sian says. I am looking forward to this planting season. I can't wait. Yes, I'm happy and I'm sad because it seems as if the growing season is taking long to get here, but at the same time it seems as if it is coming very quickly. And because I want it to get here, so it seems as if it's taking long, but because I keep busy always doing stuff to prepare for it, then because I'm so preoccupied with that, so sometimes it seems as if the time is running off pretty quickly. So I just finished organizing my seeds. I am making a list of all the seeds that I've got. I am making a schedule. So let's see. I don't have Saturday, tomorrow, and Sunday's video recorded yet. So I'm going to get on that right away when I'm done with this live. I'm not going to be planting a lot, but time will tell. Okay. Yeah, so I don't have tomorrow and Sunday's video done yet, but I'm just gonna inform you as to what is coming next week. So Monday, I'm going to be having another Q&A, gardening Q&A live, and that one is going to be a continuation of the 12 plants that repels garden pest, how to grow and care for them. So one of the live that was done tells you what these 12 plants are and what they repel. The second one gave you six of these plants, how to grow and care for them. So the next live that I'm going to be doing on Monday is going to be discussing the other 6 plants, how to grow and care for them. On Tuesday, Tuesday's video is going to be about my seeds, how I arrange them, how I make a list for them, and other plans that I am making for those seeds. So I'm going to be discussing companion planting, and it's going to be a 3-part series that is going to be for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then we'll be back here on Friday for another Worm Farm Q&A live. Let's see. Okay, so it seems as if there are no more questions. Okay, so if there are, let's see. I can't, oh, I think you say I can't wait to see those seeds videos. It should be interesting because I'm going to be giving you a list of seeds that I have and how I'm going to be companion planting. I'm going to be discussing what can be companion planted together and stuff like that. So stay tuned. Make sure you take out your notebook if you would like to learn more about what can be companion planted together. I'm also going to be discussing what cannot be companion planted together. So stay tuned. I hope you don't miss it. And yes, wait, okay. I figured that's what you were saying. Okay, so stay tuned and thank you all for being a part of this program. It was nice having you here. And now I'm going to say goodbye. I hope to see you pretty soon. Very informative. Please hit the like button. Thank you, One White. Oh, I see someone else joined the live. Um, but we are just about closing down the live. So I hope for the one who just joined the live that you will be at least able to catch the replay. I'm sorry that you missed it. So this is it, guys. I'm going to be ending the program now. I hope you have yourself a wonderful weekend. Oh, gardening with bar chucking. It's all good. Capital Dar 01. Oh, I can rewind. Okay. I figured it I would swing by. Well, I'm glad that you were all able to swing by. It's a pretty informative live, so be sure to catch the replay because there's a lot of practical information in there for especially for those who love to worm farm or contemplating worm farm. There are a lot of information about castings, how to use it and stuff like that. So all right, so have a good weekend, everyone. Take care and stay safe. Okay, thank you. Bye, Chucky.